King Charles III's wax face with chocolate cake, demanding that the government ends all new oil and gas licenses and consents. An employee of London's Madame Tussauds can be heard screaming for the protesters to stop. However, the pair continued to smear the king's face with the cake. More details on this later in the news. Good evening. I'm CJ Hero.
And I am Nina Richie Alago Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. And now for the headlines. As the country gears up to welcome tourists, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. says the Philippines is ready to go back to normalcy. After 3 successive weeks of increases, oil companies will roll back crude prices on Tuesday. Boris Johnson backs out from race that will pave the way for a possible return as British Prime Minister. Xi Jinping secures third term as Secretary General of China's Communist Party. And Ukraine denies Moscow's claim of using dirty bomb against Russia. Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has urged areas in the country to take after Bacolod City in opening their provinces to tourists to sustain economic recovery. The president also hinted at the country's return to pre-pandemic status. Eden Santos has the story.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is confident in the country's return to its normal life before the COVID-19 pandemic. During his speech in Bacolod City, the chief executive admitted the country and the public suffering because of the pandemic. But he said this will all pass and the country will go back to normalcy. Marcos also encourages other provinces in the country to open their tourism to visitors, just like what Bacolod City is doing. Eden Santos reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The 7-day COVID-19 positivity rate in the National Capital Region has continued its downward trend. Based on Octa Research Monitoring, fellow Dr. Guido David said Metro Manila's positivity rate is down to 12.3% on October 22nd compared to 14.9% last October 15. Calabarzon provinces also showed a downward trend in its positivity rates. Benguet has the lowest rate of 7%. However, David noted that 7 provinces' positivity rates increased to high levels or more than 20%. These include Cagayan, Iloilo, Isabela, La Union, Misamis Oriental, Pangasinan, and Tarlac. Meanwhile, Metro Manila still tops provinces with the most number of new cases as of October 23 with 465, followed by Cavite, Iloilo, Davao del Sur, and Bulacan.
Infectious disease expert Dr. Ron Jean Solante believes that the increase in COVID-19 cases in the country last month is due to the XBB subvariant and XBC variant. Vin Pasco has the details.
The Department of Health has confirmed President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s designation of retired PNP Chief Camilo Cascolan as its newest undersecretary. But the Alliance of Health Workers, or AHW, questions the appointment, which they describe as an insult to the health experts who are more qualified for the position. In a statement, the AHW said they hope for the DOH officials to be experts in fighting deadly illnesses like the COVID-19. Responding to critics, Cascolan defended his appointment. During his PNP leadership at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, he said he created the COVID task force and led the admin support for it. During his headship, he also created the PNP Medical Reserve Force responsible for the RT-PCR testing in the Mall of Asia Arena and was part of the management of the PICC and ultra-quarantine areas. Cascolan proudly shared his ability and experience in administration, management, and strategic planning, which could help the health department. Cascolan has a master's degree in public management from the University of the Philippines, Visayas. The DOH has not given Cascolan a specific assignment or division yet to lead. The AHW has also called on President Marcos to immediately appoint a permanent head for the DOH. The group appealed to the President to appoint someone who would give importance to health workers and would ensure good working conditions for them. Madeline Villar Moratillo reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
In related news, lawmakers have also defended President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s appointment of retired PNP Chief Camilo Cascolan as Undersecretary at the Department of Health. We have Man Corvera for the story.
Retired PNP Chief Camilo Cascolan has found an ally at the Senate with Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa and Senator Christopher Bongo defending his appointment as Undersecretary of the Department of Health. De la Rosa said one need not be a doctor to lead an organization like the Department of Health. And as a former Chief of Philippine National Police, De la Rosa said Cascolan has a management experience. He added that it is the prerogative of the President to appoint whoever he thinks is capable to serve the administration and the public.
Mayroon pang batas nagsasabi na gano'n. Wala man akong nakitang batas na nagsasabi na gano'n. All you have to do, siguro, pag ganang position is management only. Management expertise ang kinakailangan niya dyan. Bakit naman siya may insulto na kinuha yan yung Pangulong Marcos para tumulong, magpatakbo sa departamento na yan? Prerogative po yan ng Pangulo. Hindi yan prerogative ng mga na-insulto.
For his part, Senator Bongo said Cascolan is qualified to impose discipline, health and safety measures in times of pandemic. As a public servant, Cascolan has an experience after serving as Undersecretary of the President from February 2021 up to the end of the term of President Rodrigo Duterte. Cascolan could help the government in combating the COVID-19 and other health risks. Go also acknowledge Cascolan's role at the height of the pandemic. Man Corvera reporting for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Motorists can smile a little bit this week as oil firms announced a rollback after 2 straight weeks of major price hikes. In separate advisories, Filipina Shell Petroleum and Sea Oil announced they will cut down the price per liter of gasoline by 35 centavos, diesel by 1 peso and 10 centavos, and kerosene by 45 centavos. Petrogas stated it will implement the same changes, excluding kerosene, which it does not carry. The oil price adjustments will take effect tomorrow at 6 a.m., while other firms have yet to make the same announcements for the week. The latest price rollback comes after 2 straight weeks of increases as oil companies increased prices per liter of gasoline by 80 centavos, diesel by 2 pesos and 70 centavos, and kerosene by 2 pesos and 90 centavos last week.
A Korean airplane slid off the runway while landing at Cebu International Airport in the Philippines, resulting in slight injuries and the shutdown of the country's second busiest airport. The Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines, or CAAP, confirmed that all 173 passengers and crew of Korean flight KE631 from Incheon were evacuated safely, and those with minor injuries were treated at the airport clinic. The airport's Assistant General Manager Glenn Napuli announced the airport would be shut down until midnight, but authorities are now working to resume flights within the day. Napuli added that the aircraft is expected to be removed tomorrow, while a continuous investigation is conducted to further determine the cause of the accident. For his part, Korean Air President Woo Ki-hong apologized for the incident and vowed to conduct an in-depth investigation by both Philippine and Korean authorities.
The Department of Justice's preliminary investigation into the murder complaint against the surrendered gunman and his cohorts over the killing of broadcaster Percy Lapid has started. The suspect, or the self-confessed gunman, Joel Escorial, appeared at the hearing with his police escorts. The Las Piñas City Police, who stands as the public complainant in the case, appeared in the hearing. They were accompanied by 3 other respondents of the case. According to attorney Berteni Cosing, spokesman of the victim's family, Escorial took an oath with regards to his extrajudicial confession, where he confessed that he participated in the slaying of the broadcaster. The other respondents of the complaint did not appear. There was also no lawyer present for them. The police have also submitted additional evidence, particularly the ballistic report. Kausing said that Lapid's slay case is not yet case solved, refuting the statement of the Southern Police District head. Justice Secretary Crispin Remulla also maintained that the Lapid case is not yet closed. He said there is still a need to gather all the evidence, since this is essential to push through with the case. According to the autopsy, there is no sign of external physical injury of Villamor, one of the suspects or the masterminds in the killing. The family is questioning why the autopsy investigation happened after the embalming of Villamor. In relation to this, Remulla said that a second autopsy is launched. The family of the victim plans to file an administrative and criminal case against the head of the Bureau of Corrections because, according to reports, a cell phone was smuggled that led to the death of the alleged middleman. Remulla assured the public that the DOJ will pursue and focus on the Lapid slay case. The DOJ has set the hearing of the case on November 4 at 10 a.m.
I've also spoken to Dr. Raquel Fortun to ask her to conduct a second autopsy, a validating autopsy, so that she can also give her observations, because that is the agreement that I had with Roy Mabasa, who I spoke to yesterday, together with the son of Percy Lapid, so that we're attending to everything that has to be done.
An independent research team cited that COVID cases in the National Capital Region last August was going down, but it suddenly spiked in September. According to experts, this is probably due to the XBB being the driver of the upward trend of COVID cases. Vin Pascua has the details.
Dr. Ron Jean Solante, one of the country's infectious disease experts, believes that the spike in COVID-19 cases last September is caused by the Omicron XBB subvariant and XBC variant. Solante, who is also the chief of the Adult Infectious Disease Unit in San Lazaro Hospital and vaccine expert panel member, explained that samples positive for XBB and XBC strains, which were announced by the DOH last week, were collected in September. The recent data from the health agency was the reason why he said that the said strains were the reason why suddenly there is an increased number of COVID cases in the country. The COVID wave was already going down last August. Solante's observation is echoed by the Octa Research Group. The independent research team cited that COVID cases in the National Capital Region last August was going down, but it suddenly spiked in September. Dr. Guido David of Octa Research pointed out that this is probably due to the XBB being the driver of the upward trend of COVID cases. The XBB subvariant is also the cited reason for the increase in COVID-19 cases in Singapore. Yet, like the original Omicron variant, the research said XBB does not cause serious illness. According to the latest Octa data, the positivity rate in the NCR is at 12.3% in October 22nd, which was lower than the October 15 rate of 14.9%. Solante advised the government to do everything to increase vaccine coverage in the country, especially the booster shots. If there is a need to give incentives such as rice, allowance, and others, this must be done to encourage the public to get vaccine shots. The vaccines also must be made accessible in the LGUs since the pandemic is not yet over.
Bilang isang Pilipino at mamamayan, meron pong pagkatakot pa rin. Pero bilang isang Pilipino, ako rin po ang numero unong mag-iingat para maiwasan ang mga ganyang sakit.
Natatakot rin. Kaya kung ano sinasabi ng ating gobyerno, sumusunod pa rin. Halimbawa, yung pagmamas. Siyempre, dapat mag-ano sila ng vaccine, booster, mga ganon. Kasi hanggang second booster lang, di ba?
Siyempre, sinong matatakot, di ba? Kapag nahawa ka, magkakasakit ka, hindi mo malalaman kung mild o severe yung symptoms mo sa bawat variant na pwedeng magkaroon ka. Natatakot, pero siyempre, looking forward tayo kung anong pwedeng gawin ng gobyerno dito.
Naniniwala rin ang ilan sa kanila na hindi pa tapos ang pandemya.
Nandyan pa kasi yung pandemic. Hanggang nandyan pa yung pandemic na yan, ano yung buhay natin? Ups and down.
Hindi pa po tapos yung pandemya. Kita naman dito sa area natin, marami pa rin pasyente nagpapagamot. Siyempre, yung mga ibang may sakit, biglang COVID na rin pala. So, hindi na itatala lahat ng statistics natin, yung mga may sakit at yung mga wala talaga.
As of October 23rd, 73,482,574 Filipinos receive a complete dose of vaccination, while 20,472,983 receive their booster shots. I am Vin Pascua reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Coming up, ex-Premier Boris Johnson will not seek conservative leadership. France President Emmanuel Macron calls for peace on Ukraine's terms. And President Xi Jinping reelected for third term and begins another historic term in China. Mata ng Agila International will be back after this short break.
It is a signal to the world that we are open for business.
Open for Business with Cesar Vallejos. Every Sunday, 9 p.m.
Sa gitna ng kontrobersya, eksklusibo nating makakapanayam si DOJ Secretary Crispin Jesus Boy Rimulya. Abangan sa Counterpoint, Miyerkules, alas 10:30 ng gabi, dito sa Net 25. When you heard what happened to your son, ano po ba naging reaction nyo?
The news continues here on Mata ng Agila International. Boris Johnson won't be making a political comeback. He has ruled out seeking the conservative leadership in the United Kingdom. Johnson resigned as Prime Minister last July following a series of scandals. His successor, Liz Truss, lasted only 44 days before she quit after her economic package created chaos in financial markets and she lost the confidence of the party. In a statement, Johnson says although he believes he could deliver a conservative victory in the next election, he doesn't believe that the party is united behind him. He adds without unity, he would not be able to govern effectively. Johnson says the right thing to do is to not seek leadership.
British politician Rishi Sunak was elected Conservative leader and will become the next Prime Minister. This is after rival Penny Mordaunt failed to secure the necessary 100 nominations from her fellow MPs. Mordaunt said in a statement that these are unprecedented times, and despite the compressed timetable for the leadership contest, it is clear that her Tory colleagues feel the need for certainty today. She said that the Parliament has taken this decision in good faith for the good of the country. The Tories retain a majority in Parliament, meaning that as their leader, Sunak will be named Prime Minister by King Charles III.
As returning officer in the leadership election, I can confirm that we have received one valid nomination. And Rishi Sunak is therefore elected as leader of the Conservative.
Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelenski dismisses Russian claims that Kyiv is preparing to use a so-called dirty bomb in its war with Russia. The denial came in the president's latest evening television address. The claim was made in a phone call Sunday between Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu and his NATO counterparts. A dirty bomb uses conventional explosives combined with radioactive material. Zelensky says that if Russia is making such claims, it means Moscow has already prepared for it, and adds the world should react as harshly as possible.
French President Emmanuel Macron called for a peace deal in Ukraine, but insisted that the terms and timing of such an agreement should be dictated by Kyiv. Speaking at a peace summit in Rome, Macron said that Russian power cannot be allowed to hostage peace. He stressed that the end of war cannot be the consecration of the law of the strongest, nor can it be a ceasefire, as that would consecrate things as they are. Macron also justified Western support for Kyiv.
Ni le cessez-le-feu, ce qui viendrait consacrer un état de fait. Je pense que d'abord cette guerre est le fruit d'un nationalisme exacerbé, entretenu par le pouvoir russe, qui s'est nourri du ressentiment et de l'humiliation nés lors de la dislocation de l'Empire soviétique. Aujourd'hui, nous avons très clairement, et jusqu'au dernier quart d'heure, nous le ferons, décider de sanctionner la Russie, d'être aux côtés du peuple russe pour l'aider à résister d'un point de vue économique, humanitaire, militaire, sans pour autant être partie prenante de cette guerre pour ne pas la mondialiser. Mais pour qu'à un moment, le peuple ukrainien puisse choisir, et pour qu'il choisisse le moment et les termes d'une paix qu'il aura.
Since the beginning of the conflict in February, Macron has differed from other Western leaders in pushing to keep talks open with his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin.
More than 1 million households in Ukraine are left without electricity following Russian strikes on energy facilities across the country. A report from the deputy head of the Ukrainian presidency, Kirill Tishchenko, said that as of Saturday, October 22, 672,000 subscribers have been disconnected in Khmelnytsky region, 188,400 in Mykolaiv region, and 102,000 in Volyn region. Kirilo Timoshenko also said on social media that the power disconnection has also affected 242,000 in Cherkasy region, 174,790 in Rivne region, 61,913 in Kirovograd region, and 10,500 in Odessa region. Meanwhile, rescuers help residents and in the clearing of debris after a Russian strike on a residential area of Mykolaiv. Tymoshenko said the strike has left 4 people injured in the region.
Russian authorities in Kherson urged its residents to leave immediately as they expect Ukrainian troops to pursue a counteroffensive campaign to reclaim the city in southern Ukraine. The regional administration announced the evacuation of the region via the Telegram app on Saturday. They urged civilians to use both crossings over a river to move deeper into Russian-held territory. The Russian Ministry of Emergency also helped the evacuees upon their arrival at the railway station. From here, the residents will further journey to Anapa town, where they will be temporarily hosted.
2 pilots are dead after a Russian military jet on a test flight crashed into a 2-story house in southern Siberia. No one on the ground was injured when the Su-30 aircraft hit the private home Sunday. Apparently, 2 families lived in the house but were not home at the time. At least a dozen firefighters worked to put out the blaze, which broke out after the crash. This accident comes just 6 days after a military jet crashed into an apartment block in the Russian town of Yeysk near the border with Ukraine. 12 people, including several children, died in that tragedy.
Xi Jinping has been re-elected as head of the Chinese Communist Party for the next 5 years, beginning a historic third term as president. Xi praised the efforts of the country's citizens in developing the nation, but warned that China should be vigilant in looking ahead. Here's Feng Yilei, a CGTN correspondent for RT News for the details.
In the face of new challenges, we must stay on high alert, be sober-minded and prudent, like a student sitting for a never-ending exam. We must promote inter-party governance. We must make sure that our century-old party, the biggest in the world, will become ever more vigorous through self-reform and continue to be the strong backbone that the Chinese people can lean on at all times.
The speech that Xi Jinping has just delivered touches upon the greatest achievements of the past 5 years and beyond. And he highlights a clear goal, once again, to promote the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation via Chinese style of modernization as its central task of the new journey. And it was an important declaration, I'd say, to set out again towards new victories. And Xi Jinping stressed the people's leadership, which is quite notable in that speech. And given the trust of the people and the burden of the new era, he himself, the new General Secretary, as the core of the CPC Central Committee and central leadership and whole party, will lead all party members and whole Chinese people to go forward with confidence. And besides, he mentions the Communist Party of China's responsibility for the world, namely contributing China's solutions to people all over the world, and even the civilization of the mankind. I need to make it clear that the Central Committee was elected by over 2,000 delegates of the 20th 20th CPC National Congress on Saturday, and every step was in accordance with the procedure. And the Politburo Standing Committee actually plays a very crucial role in decision-making in Chinese politics. So together, these leadership members will help move forward its goals, as I said, to build China into a modern socialist country.
Hundreds of protesters marched in London, England Sunday against the assault of a Hong Kong pro-democracy activist at the Chinese consulate in Manchester last week. Protesters want diplomats involved in the incident deported from Britain. While taking part in a peaceful anti-government protest on October 16, activist Bob Chan was grabbed by consular officials, dragged into the consulate's compound and assaulted. A Manchester police officer managed to get Chan to safety. Jason Chow of the group of Hong Kongers in Britain says China is involving itself in places it does not belong.
Over the past years, we have seen the so-called long-armed interference by Chinese government in the affairs of Western countries. I think we should stop the Chinese state from interfering with the freedoms and rights in Western countries.
Up next, 2 dead as Hurricane Roslyn ravages Mexico. Fire rages on slopes of Africa's highest mountain. And Tesla CEO Elon Musk lambasts hypocritical Washington Post. These and more stories from us here at Mata ng Agila International.
Season ng moments, siguradong mas maraming tawanan, ulitan, iyakan at chikahan ang inyong mapapanood. Kasama pa rin ang walang kakupas-kupas. Walang iba, Mommy Gladys Reyes Someru. Abangan ang lahat ng yan sa Moments.
Panalo tayo pag together, walang talo pag together, let's stand together. Sa Net25.
It's another relaxing shopping day, mga minamahal namin ka-shopper.
Nandito na naman kami ng dynamic duo sa pagpapadali ng inyong shopping for 2 hours. 2 oras na hitik sa sellers, puno ng masasarap na pagkain at magagandang gamit at services.
Meron kaming 2 businesses. Isa po, the B Spa, we offer home service massage. Tapos, the 3rd floor gym.
Shopping all the way
with Jojo
Panalo tayo pag together, walang talo pag together, let's stand together. Sa Net25.
Rescue efforts are ongoing inside a mine in southern Ecuador, where 3 miners have been trapped since Saturday following a rock and mudslide. So far, no additional miners have been reported trapped from the underground gallery in Zaruma. According to the Director Strategic of the Zaruma Fire Department, Viviana Fernandez, work is being done on the logistics outside the mine, and they are working 24 hours a day on rotating schedules to be able to recover people. Moreover, Machala Fire Department seeks collaboration with Zaruma Fire Department to further locate other people possibly trapped inside the mine.
Hurricane Roslyn has unleashed its fury on Mexico as the Category 3 storm made landfall Sunday, killing at least 2 people. The 2 victims died after being hit by debris in separate incidents. Roslyn packed winds of 195 kilometers an hour when it blew through the small town of Santa Cruz. People there are mopping up as the storm moved inland. It was downgraded from a Category 4 hurricane as it approached Mexico, but authorities said it could still cause significant coastal flooding that could be life-threatening. The National Hurricane Center warned of damaging winds and heavy rains that could result in flash flooding and landslides. Several hundred people in Roslyn's path were evacuated a day before it made landfall.
Hundreds of people are battling a blaze on the slopes of Africa's highest mountain, Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania. The blaze is said to be partially under control. The fire started Friday evening near the Camp Karanga site used by climbers. While authorities are still trying to determine the cause, they said it was the result of human activity like the extraction of honey by locals or by poachers. Strong winds allowed the blaze to spread quickly. Its extent remains unclear, as well as how it is affecting people in the region. Police, university students, and other civilians have aided firefighters in efforts to control the blaze. The region is a World Heritage Site because of the many endangered species that live there.
Seismic activity at Ecuador's Cotopaxi volcano has prompted the country to issue a precautionary or a yellow alert. Tremors, ash, and steam have been detected at the site. Cotopaxi is considered as one of the world's most dangerous volcanoes because of the frequency of eruptions. More than 300,000 people live in the area around Cotopaxi, and there are pipelines, large farms, and livestock holdings in the region. In the event of a major eruption, the effects could also be felt in the capital of Quito, about 45 kilometers away.
Coast Guard vessels continued a search on the weekend for a small plane that crashed off the coast of Costa Rica on Friday. On Saturday, rescue teams found the bodies of 2 people who were among the 6 souls aboard the aircraft. Some pieces of the plane that were washed up by the tide have also been recovered. The jet aircraft was carrying 5 German passengers and a Swiss pilot on a flight from Mexico. The 5 Germans on the plane were Rainer Scaler, the wealthy founder of a chain of gyms called McFit. Traveling with him were his partner, their 2 children, and another unnamed man.
Israeli police shot a Palestinian teenager at a football pitch in eastern Jerusalem on Saturday. Israeli authorities say the teen was suspected of carrying out a stabbing attack in Jerusalem. According to Israeli police, the Palestinian teenager left an Israeli pedestrian seriously wounded in a knife attack before fleeing into an East Jerusalem neighborhood. The suspect is alleged to have turned toward officers with an object in his hand before they opened fire. He was left seriously wounded, and medics took him to a hospital in Jerusalem.
Elon Musk called the staff of the Washington Post, or WAPO, such hypocrites after the newspaper ran a series of highly critical articles on him. The WAPO recently proclaimed that democracy dies in darkness. It also described the SpaceX CEO as a security risk. Though it was Bloomberg that first reported the possibility that the federal government may investigate Musk's companies after the billionaire made them uncomfortable with his remarks on Ukraine, WAPO triggered off a salvo of brutally critical articles on the SpaceX CEO over the weekend. A Post piece depicted how lawmakers in Washington allegedly consider Musk, the world's #1 billionaire, too powerful and increasingly reckless. Washington's deliberation was partly over Musk's since abandoned demand that the government reimburses him for free Starlink internet access to Ukraine. However, the Tesla founder confirmed that it would not turn off the 20,000 Starlink terminals in Ukraine, even if the U.S. Department of Defense refused to fund the cost. Musk's tweet was applauded by the Minister of Digital Transformation of Ukraine, Mikhail Fedorov. The minister thanked Musk on Twitter for maintaining a vitally important support for Ukraine. Though Musk did not clarify whether he claimed reimbursement of the initial Starlink internet services costs, he stressed that his company would not be able to constantly pay for these services. According to reports, SpaceX losses will amount to $120 million by the end of the year and up to $400 million over the next 12 months.
Author Salman Rushdie has lost sight in one eye and the use of one hand following the attack he suffered in New York State in August. The update on his condition came from his agent in an interview with the Spanish newspaper El País. The 75-year-old author was stabbed in the neck and torso as he prepared to give a speech. The agent did not say whether Rushdie is still in the hospital. Rushdie has been living with death threats since 1989 when Iran's Ayatollah Khomeini issued an edict calling for his death following the publication of his controversial novel, The Satanic Verses. Some Muslims consider the book blasphemous. A 24-year-old man has been charged with attempted murder and assault and remains in jail as he awaits trial.
The World Health Organization has warned the Food and Drug Administration regarding 4 Indian-made cough syrups linked to the deaths of 165 children who died in Gambia and Indonesia. The FDA confirmed that products manufactured by Maiden Pharmaceutical have not been imported to Thailand, but they give focus on the possible threat and are keeping an eye on the issue. The WHO has banned 4 of the pharmaceutical company's cold and cough products, such as promethazine oral solution, Cofexmalin baby cough syrup, Makeoff baby cough syrup, and Magripen cold syrup, after determining that mentioned products contain chemicals like diethylene glycol and ethylene glycol. According to FDA Deputy Secretary General Dr. Surachok Tangwiwat, chemicals that contaminated the drugs may show symptoms like abdominal pain, vomiting, diarrhea, urinary incontinence, headaches, altered mental states, and kidney failure, which can all lead to death. The Indonesian Public Health Ministry reported that at least 99 children died after taking cough syrups made by Maiden Pharmaceuticals. Eco-activists splash mashed potatoes on a Claude Monet painting in a German museum days after Vincent van Gogh's Sunflowers in London was hit by tomato soup. Dressed in black with orange vests, the two activists threw mashed potatoes on the painting before squatting in front of it and gluing a hand on the wall. Publishing a video of the action on Twitter, the environmental protest group Last Generation wrote, "If it takes a painting with mashed potatoes or tomato soup thrown at it to make society remember that the fossil fuel course is killing us all, then we'll give you mashed potatoes on a painting." The work, Les Mules or Haystacks, hangs in the Museum Barberini in Potsdam. It is part of billionaire Hasso Plattner's collection and is on permanent loan to the museum. The painting fetched $111 million at an auction in 2019, the highest sum paid for a Monet. Police say both activists were taken into custody and are under investigation for damage to property and trespassing. The museum says the painting was protected by glass, and experts have assessed that it has not suffered any damage. The work will be back on show from Wednesday.
Just Stop Oil activists hit King Charles III's wax face with chocolate cake, demanding that the government halt all new oil and gas licenses and consents. The protesters, identified as Eyelid McFadden and Tom Johnson, wore white T-shirts flaunting the logo of their environmental group. An employee of London's Madame Tussauds can be heard screaming for the protesters to stop after the first cake is slammed against the face of the waxwork model. But the two activists continue with their smearing of cake over the wax figure of the king. The incident was also tweeted by the eco-protesters saying, "Just stop oil, cake's the king." The group also said that science is clear and the demand is simple, just stop new oil and gas since it's a piece of cake. Meanwhile, the Met Police said 4 people have been arrested for criminal damage in relation to the incident.
Japan unveils electric spoons and bowls to make food tastier. Pound gains as Rishi Sunak becomes UK Prime Minister. And Black Adam rocks to the top of North America box office. Stay tuned. Bata ng Agila International. We'll be right back.
Alam namin ang iyong pagsisikap. Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka na mangamba. Sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. Ay lalabas natin ang angking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa New Era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
Miss Aramina!
Bakit parang lagi naisip mo? Kasi pupuntahan ako kasal. Hindi ko alam kung pupuntahan ko ito. Ano yung kasal? Saan? Bakit mo tinakas ang anak natin?
Hindi mo anak yan!
Sinungaling! Abangan niyo po ang
Bibisita ko sa nag-iisang travel gag show ang Quezon City!
It's another relaxing shopping day, mga minamahal naming ka-shopper.
Nandito na naman kami ng dynamic duo sa pagpapadali ng inyong shopping for 2 hours. 2 oras na hitik sa sellers, puno ng masasarap na pagkain at magagandang gamit at services.
Meron kaming 2 businesses. Isa po, the B Spa, we offer home service massage. Tapos, the 3rd floor gym.
Shopping all the way
with Jojo
Panalo tayo pag together, walang talo pag together. Let's stand together. Sunet 25.
Sa gitna ng kontrobersya, eksklusibo nating makakapanayam si DOJ Secretary Crispin Jesus Boy Remulla. Abangan sa Counterpoint, Miyerkules, alas 10:30 ng gabi, dito sa Net 25. When you heard what happened to your son, ano po ba naging reaction niyo?
Parang familiar sa akin yung tunog na yun.
So ano nga bang nagustuhan mo kay Doc Willie?
Si Doc Willie ay healthy living. Papa, kaya ko ipaglaban.
Tingnan mo yun!
Talaga mahal ko. Abo?
Abo? Abo?
Sa pinakabagong season ng Moments, siguradong mas maraming tawanan, kulitan, iyakan at chikahan ang inyong mapapanood. Kasama pa rin ang walang kakupas-kupas. Walang iba, Mommy Gladys Reyes Someru. Abangan ang lahat ng yan sa Moments.
Panalo tayo pag together, walang talo pag together. Let's stand together. Sunet 25.
Japanese inventors have created electric bowls and spoons guaranteed to add sparks to your meal. Using technology called electric taste sensing, the utensils use weak electricity to enhance and control the taste of food, adding and subtracting flavors as it sees fit. Kirin is the company behind the products. A Kirin representative made an example. In the case of a spoon, the tip of the spoon, the part that touches the food, is an electrode, and an electric current flows toward the food. European equities climbed despite data showing Britain and Germany headed for recession. Meanwhile, the Hong Kong stock market plunged as Chinese President Xi Jinping handed key economic posts to loyalists behind his zero-COVID strategy. Sentiment was boosted by hopes the Federal Reserve would soon slow its pace of interest rate hikes and by the news that European gas prices were at 4-month low. The reference Dutch TTF gas price dipped below 100 euros for the first time since June, reaching 98.60 euros per megawatt hour. Meanwhile, the embattled yen saw only a short rally against the dollar as Japanese authorities stepped in to support their currency for the second time in as many sessions. Focus was also on the euro after new Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni took office. Milan's stock market was up 1.3% in early afternoon trading on Monday, mirroring strong gains in Frankfurt and Paris.
Competitors of the Ladies Professional Golf Players Association travel and tour the globe in search of their next big tournament. Along with competing at some of the world's most prestigious golf courses comes the opportunity to visit cities and countries in which they are located. Today, LPGA players share their top travel destination picks. From Somis, California, we bring you Alan and Eva Basalyahe with a story.
We're only about a month away from the end of the LPGA season. And as usual, the tour has brought these professional golfers around the world.
So who better to ask than these ladies where on the planet they'd recommend to pay a visit to?
I'm from Okinawa, so I want to recommend Okinawa.
Definitely my hometown, China. I'm going to be biased. Going to be Malaysia.
Actually, Canada.
Of course, Thailand, I guess.
My favorite place to go is Australia, actually.
ก็คิดว่าก็อยากเชิญชวนทุกคนไปเมืองไทยอะค่ะก็เมืองไทยก็เป็นแบบก็เป็นประเทศของแหวนเองแล้วก็แบบก็แหวนก็แบบชอบที่จะอยู่ในไทยอะไรเงี้ยค่ะก็อยากเชิญชวนแบบมีทั้งแบบทะเลทั้งแบบภูเขาสวยๆอะไรเงี้ยก็มีหลายอย่างในประเทศไทยค่ะ
Since you're from Thailand and our country is very beautiful, so she would recommend definitely going to Thailand because we got ocean, mountain, and every activities that you probably can find in Thailand.
Okinawa is like Hawaii, kind of Hawaii, and nice ocean, blue sky, and people very nice, kindful.
I was just awesome country, and then the people are really nice, great food, and just a lot of cultures.
Yeah, Kuala Lumpur, you will not hate it. I mean, it's a cool city, beautiful nightlife, great architecture in the city. It's just so beautiful. It's very similar to the U.S. It's just the people are great. It's kind of a combination between Britain and America, I'd say. It's just really good vibes, and it's always summertime when we go there.
The cities and countries I want to visit, I haven't even been to yet. You know, I really want to visit Iceland and Australia.
Guess I better work on my golf game if I want to travel the globe.
Me too. Eva and Alan, Somis, California, Matanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Warner Brothers' new film Black Adam stood out among other movies this weekend, taking the lead at the North American box office with an estimated takeoff $67 million. Industry Watchers Exhibitor Relations reported that Sunday. Black Adam was inspired by the 2019's Shazam superhero story, and this newly released movie stars Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as the titular villain, a former slave gifted with miraculous powers by ancient Egyptian gods. This movie entails a strong opening, which portrays a positive and steady step forward for DC Comics. From October 21, Black Adam is set to continuously hit the cinemas.
There's no one on this planet that can stop me.
Czech conductor Libor Pesek, who led the Liverpool Royal Philharmonic Orchestra for a decade, has died at age 89, the Czech Culture Minister said Monday. The Czech media confirmed Pesek's death this Sunday. In a tweet, Minister Martin Baxa tweeted that one of the most prominent Czech conductors, Libor Pesek, has died. Pesek was born in Prague way back in 1933. He was the former head conductor of the Royal Liverpool Philharmonic Orchestra from 1987 to 1997 and the Czech Philharmonic Orchestra from 1981 to 1990. Moreover, he also led an orchestra in the Netherlands. And in 1996, he was made Knight Commander of the British Empire by the late Queen Elizabeth II.
Mesmerizing northern lights were seen around the Arctic Circle in Finland on Saturday evening, October 22. At one point, red auroras were also visible. According to locals, seeing such red auroras with the naked eye is extremely rare, as usually the auroras appear in other ranges of colors. According to the website space.com, although the northern lights captivate people with its beautiful dancing waves of light, this spectacular show is a rather violent event. Space.com said such a display happens when energized particles from the poles, when they hit The sun slammed into Earth's upper atmosphere at speeds of up to 45 million miles per hour and are redirected towards the poles when they hit the Earth's magnetic field. The dramatic process transforms into a cinematic atmospheric phenomenon that dazzles and fascinates scientists and sky watchers alike.
Flocks of sheep take over the streets of downtown Madrid in Spain. The woolly creatures are on their way to winter pastures. The sheep walk about 1,000 kilometers to get to their destination. This is an annual event that was revived in 1994 with shepherds herding their flocks through the center of the Spanish capital. It is a reenactment of what their ancestors did for centuries and has attracted big crowds. Locals and tourists line the streets to take pictures of the sheep as they pass by.
It's just the start of the week. Well, let's now take a look back at some historical events that happened on this day, October 24. In 1861, the first transcontinental telegram was sent via the telegraph in the United States, effectively bringing to an end the Pony Express. In 1945, United Nations Charter was ratified by then 5 permanent members and 46 member states. And in 2021, Michael Jordan's 1984 Nike Airships was sold for $1.472 million at Sotheby's, a new record for sneakers at auction. Wow, that's a lot of money.
I know. And as you put it, it's Monday. So to help you start your week, here's a quote from Dr. Wayne D. Dyer, an internationally acclaimed author. Go the extra mile. It's never crowded there.
And I believe that. In everything that you do, you have to go the extra mile to learn more. You know, because especially if you want to be successful in life, you really have to keep learning. The education never stops if you want to succeed in life.
Exactly. You have to be driven to go the extra mile in life.
And that is a wrap for tonight's news. Catch the latest updates on our social media channels. I am CJ Hero.
And I am Nina Richie Alago Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.